It's been an exciting run and absolutely mentally exhausting at times. I pictured myself playing golf, a couple times a week, just relaxing, reading a book. And instead, it's just been full tilt ever since. And I've probably been working twice as many hours as I was in my routine job, right, my day job. But it's been a learning experience. I think that.
Welcome back to Keeping It Real Estate. Today, we have the pleasure of hosting Craig Stevens. Craig is a certified public accountant with 25 years of experience as a senior executive in the financial services industry. He's a frequent speaker at industry conferences and a financial coach and a publisher author. Craig has also been featured in TED Talk for his creation of the Wealth Factor, which offers individuals the opportunity to openly discuss their financial position on a level platform. Craig, welcome to the show. If you want to start off, maybe give us a little history on yourself.
Thanks for having me, Dan. This is great. So I started investing while I was working my day job. I was the CFO at a life insurance company, previously worked in consulting and auditing for a number of years as well. And I decided about 10 years ago to start investing in real estate. I was sitting at my desk probably for a couple of weeks at a time, just thinking that I didn't want this to be the end of my career, just living to my retirement, working behind a desk and crunching the numbers as an accountant. I enjoyed the job. I learned a lot on those roles, but at the same time, I had an urge to do something differently and start my own business. So I started looking into real estate more. The only time I had heard much about real estate investing was, just through some friends maybe that had done it in the past to a small degree. And my grandfather as well built an apartment complex himself. He was a construction worker and built a home, had like 6 families in it. So I got to see that when I was younger. It wasn't his main focus, but it was something that he loved doing. And I got to see, the opportunities that could come from real estate investing. So I started buying up properties while I was working my day job, just 1 a year, 2 a year, small properties, 3 to 4 family buildings in New York, about a mile away from my house. Just finding things that were, in the New York area that made sense from a financial perspective, added to my portfolio and finally grew it over about 7 years to 9 properties and 35 tenants. Got to the point where I was comfortable enough that I had good trajectory that I could leave my day job. So last year I actually left my day job and I've been focused full-time on real estate investing since.
Wow, I love it. So right there, you guys, you can hear a story of somebody who had no experience in real estate other than friends and, parents and, a little bit of talk here and there, worked at a life insurance company doing very well. And over a 7-year period, accumulated 9 properties and said 35 tenants. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And left your day job and you're now full-time in real estate. So now that you're full-time in real estate, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis?
So I've started over the last year raising capital for transactions. So I thought at first I wanted to do my own real estate syndications and bring other investors into the deal and manage the transaction myself. But by owning my own properties, I've gotten a little bit tired of managing properties myself. And I wanted to take a little pause from that. It is a lot of work, even if you do have a good property manager. So decided that actually learned more about capital raising and that sponsors, syndicators could use help raising capital for their transactions. I didn't know this world existed about a year and a half ago. So I started raising capital as soon as I left my day job. And that's what I've been primarily focused on, that. And I also have a short-term property management business, short-term rental business that I have in New Jersey. So that's been taking up a fair amount of my time as well, building that.
Gotcha. So I hope you guys heard that right there. And it is the truth is as you buy and own property, as Craig just shared, he had 9 properties, 35 tenants, and realized it's work. Even if you have a property management company, you're still having to do work on these assets and take care of them on a month-to-month basis, whether it's phone calls, making decisions, showing up at the asset to help make property management decisions. So he found a way, it sounds like, and we're going to delve more into this because it's really interesting. It's an opportunity for a lot of people. How did you come to decide who you're raising capital for? So, and let's level the playing field a little more. A co-general partner, he may not be out finding the deals, creating the relationships with all of the brokers, selling the deals, signing on the loan necessarily or getting the debt set up. He may not be executing the CapEx plan, but is working with a select group of buyers who is doing that. And he comes alongside with equity capital and raises the money to get the deal closed. Is that correct, Craig? Just so we're on the same page.
You got it right. You could do it directly as a co-GP or create your own fund, have your investors invest in that fund that invests in the deal as well.
Gotcha. So how did you find folks to do that with?
From networking, I've been studying up on real estate ever since I started buying my own properties, listening to podcasts, reading books, going to conferences, learning more about the syndication world, because I thought I might want to start my own syndication transaction. And as I started to build relationships that way and investing as a limited partner, I was realizing that there is this opportunity out there to become a capital raiser and help these syndicators to raise the capital. I mean, doing a syndication from beginning to end is a significant amount of effort. And these syndicators, not only do they have to find the deal, do all the aspects that you mentioned, but also they have to raise the capital. And some of them are very strong in the syndication aspect and managing the asset, but maybe not as strong in the capital raising piece. So they have to raise a large amount of money in a short amount of time. So I kind of had some discussions with folks about potentially helping to raise capital, learning more about it. And my first deal was someone that I had had conversations with before about investing in their transactions. He decided to give me a chance to invest in his deal and also bring in some investors. And I was able to meet my target. I raised $1.4 million on my very first deal right out of the gates last year.
Nice. So just to add a little more to that as well, right now in this market, you've got prices that have pulled back, right? Real estate prices have pulled back because interest rates have gone up. So with interest rates going up and values coming down, banks do not lend as much capital on these deals as they used to lend. They're more conservative. So you're having to raise a ton more equity to get deals closed, which if you can be a buying group right now in this market, there are very few buyers that can close. And there are a lot of sellers who need to exit due to bridge debt or variable debt, and they need to get out. So you're having a unique time in the market where if you have the reputation and track record as being a closer, and you have the ability to take assets that are probably being mismanaged slightly or just come in with the right amount of capital, a new CapEx plan, you can get deals at a very discounted price. So you might need to raise, like Craig is saying here, 10, 20 million bucks in a 60-day period. And when you buy these deals, you're still putting some non-refundable money on the line. So you might put $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 non-refundable day one or after your due diligence period. And if you don't close that deal, you're going to sacrifice those funds. So this is a incredibly important part right here that Craig's talking about. If you've been thinking about, hey, is there a way for me to partner with people without having to get all of the knowledge, all of the information? This is a really great way to do it. And Craig, great work on raising 1.4 million. How did you go about doing that? Where did you source those dollars from? How did you find that money?
I would say my first capital raise was pretty frantic. I hung up the phone and told the syndicator that I would be able to raise $1 million. I just pulled a number out of the air. I've never raised, a much of a significant amount before. And then I started rushing around and putting a list together of all the people that I know that might want to invest. I started making phone calls and texts and putting together some emails, poorly at the time. But I was able to reach into my network. And I think the benefit that I've had is that I have been investing in real estate for 10 years now. I never made it a secret, even with my coworkers, with my friends, my family. So I've been always talking whenever I get a chance about real estate because it got exciting for me. So I think a lot of these individuals that I knew had built trust with me just from a relationship perspective. They knew my track record and my background that I was investing in real estate. And now this was finally their chance to invest with me. And maybe some of these investors saw it as an opportunity to join with me, for a transaction that they may have heard about in the past.
Yeah, man, that's really good. You guys, it's a very similar story to me. I don't know, Craig, if you knew, I had a snowboarding career in my past, and I started buying real estate on my own on the side. Started with a duplex, and I bought a 9-plex, and I bought 24 units. Then we bought 28 units with 3 of us. And there was a 7-year period, 5 to 7 year period where I never raised any capital from any of investors. It was all just me. So if you guys are thinking, how can I be more into the real estate business, and you've got a job you like or you're doing well at, this is a very realistic avenue, and especially now with rates being high, maybe you can get a duplex or a fourplex or 10 units under your belt, and you can start that process. And because like Craig said, he's excited about it, he's talking about it, people hear about it, they start to be known that you're an investor in real estate. And same with me, over a 7-year period, I was pretty vocal about it because I was excited about it. And you start to be known as the guy who's in real estate. So, and then on top of that, you went to networking events and, conferences, which same here. We were traveling around, meeting a lot of people at a lot of these different events. And, it can really snowball in a pretty quick way. Wait, maybe what are the 2 or 3 biggest roadblocks you faced, Craig, in going from your full-time life insurance to a full-time real estate investor? And how did you handle those?
It's been an exciting run and absolutely mentally exhausting at times. I pictured myself playing golf, a couple times a week, just relaxing, reading a book. And instead, it's just been full tilt ever since. And I've probably been working twice as many hours as I was in my routine job, right? My day job. But it's been a learning experience. I think that the first thing that I learned was that you really need systems and processes in place. Like I said, that first raise that I did was pretty messy. It involved Excel spreadsheets and emails all over the place and texts all over the place. I've now been able to pull things together into a smart process so that I can track my communications with my investors, so that I can have more routine email conversations with them, so that I can have campaigns, newsletters, and things like that. The second thing I learned was not to hire people too quickly. So right out of the gates, I hired a virtual assistant, I hired a marketing team, and I paid a marketing team a pretty substantial amount of money, but I didn't really know what direction I wanted them to go into. So I let them lead me instead. And I think I lost a lot of expenses and time because I didn't know my own direction while I was already hiring this marketing team. So maybe being able to kind of build out, determine what direction you want to take things in, taking it slow and planning and being very strategic about it, and then hiring up people to fill roles, right? Rather than trying to hire people and then finding things for them to do.
Awesome, man. Those are good, you guys. This is good stuff. And it's funny how we've made some of those mistakes too. Our first raise, we raised $525,000, and it was a little bit chaotic. Money came quickly, but we didn't have the systems that we have in place now, and the processes and email campaigns and tracking communications, very, very critical. And then hiring too quickly, I couldn't agree more. And I'm surprised you're hiring. So when you're hiring on capital raising, who do you see you need on your team to expand what you're able to raise? Anybody else, or are you maxed out on who you're hiring?
We've been hiring now just for a few strategic roles. So we got the right marketing team to help us out. So we do have a marketing team that helps us with the right activities. I have a virtual assistant part-time now that helps with the right activities from a social media perspective, helping me to design and set up some of my social media posts. The marketing team will help me with some of the SEO work and, managing our site and trying to find, find ways to increase the awareness about what we're doing. But it really is, just making sure that you have those individuals set up to do the right things and that they're not sitting there, dormant. The other thing is, I have this other short-term rental business, right, where we're managing other owners' properties, and that's a very operational activity. I spent a lot of my time focusing on that rather than capital raising, and now started to hire individuals on that short-term rental business to help to manage the day-to-day operations there, so that I can focus more on the capital raising.
Got it. What was your TED Talk about? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago. It's called The Wealth Factor. So it was about telling people, first of all, introducing them to my background story, which I grew up in a very blue collar situation. I lived in a trailer in a mobile home park for the first 14 years of my life. I shared a bedroom with my younger brother we had a very small bedroom. We made ends meet. Big shopping days were at Target and Kmart or Salvation Army, and learned from seeing my parents, try to make ends meet. They were pretty good at saving, but they never invested. So my TED Talk is about that path that I've taken that's a little bit different than my parents to accumulate wealth, which was saving smartly, which I learned from them very well, and then also investing strategically and making sure that you're doing both of those things and how you can grow your wealth. And I also introduced this factor that I created, a formula called the wealth factor. And that helps so that you can have communications and discussions with each other about your wealth without giving up information around your income or your capital, your net worth. So I think that by learning from others, that's the best way to grow and to build your own wealth. So the calculation real quick is your income that you have over the last 10 years divided by your net worth. And what that factor is shows how strong you are in increasing your net worth.
So one more time, that calculation is income over the last 10 years. So if you make $100,000 a year for the last 10 years, you're at $1 million divided by your net worth.
Sorry, it's the inverse of that. So it's your net worth divided by your income over the last 10 years, your average income over the last 10 years. So it comes up with a factor, right? So my factor at that point was 8. It meant that I had saved a net worth of 8 times my average net income. So it shows that I was pretty strong about using my income to produce net worth. And if someone might make less money than you, maybe they make half as much money as you, but their factor might be 10. So I should want to speak with them about how they have grown their net worth to be such a large multiple, according to their income.
Got it. So basically, the higher the number, the better you are of taking your income and converting it to net worth.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting. Well, that's a nice little tidbit. I've never heard that before. That's the first time I've ever come across that calculation. When you started investing in real estate, and I'm assuming this was part of the wealth factor for you, is how do you take your income and make it grow faster? What were your goals originally? What made you start? What was for me, it was passive income. My goal was, how do I create X amount of passive income every month so that I can continue to live the lifestyle I want to live, that I was living as an athlete? What were your goals?
My goal was to grow more of the net worth aspect. So the income was not as important to me. I did have my day job, but I was being realistic about how quickly I wanted to leave my day job. Initially I was thinking that I might do this for 10 years or 15 or 20 years. But then at the end have enough assets to be able to kind of push it back into income generation as well, right? So that I can retire earlier than I would typically. And I realized that by buying my own properties with whatever money I had, one at a time, 1 a year, 2 a year, I could never grow and scale that fast at the speed that I needed to. It helped, but that's where I really started to turn my attention to other ways to invest with other people in transactions and just multiply the economies of scale and be able to, speed up your investment process faster.
Nice. So you've been a part of over 260 million in commercial real estate transactions, it sounds like, thus far. What type of assets are you guys focused on, and what strategies can you give us?
So it's mainly multifamily assets. So we're investing in apartment complexes, typically in the Southeast for us, but we've started to look in other locations as well. We are looking for really good value add opportunities. So these are transactions where you acquire them, they were mismanaged a little bit, maybe the property is aged, and there are chances that you can put in extra money to be able to improve the property exterior and the interiors and increase the rents, and then look to sell them in 3 to 7 years time horizon, right? Yep. We have also invested in retail as a limited partner. So I've invested in various things, either as a limited partner and a general partner. I've invested in a couple of strip malls, like kind of larger shopping malls with a really good base tenant. And then I've invested in mobile home parks and storage facilities. However, my main focus is apartment complexes.
Got it. Okay, good. Best 3 things you think that multifamily does for an LP, for a passive investor. What if someone's new to multifamily and they're trying to figure out, and maybe you can talk a little bit about your differences, why multifamily is the one versus the retail that you've invested in as an LP, or some of the strip malls or storage facilities. What would be the top 3 things that you're focused on with a multifamily deal? I
really like multifamily, even definitely over the retail space. Some of those I might actually regret investing in. With the multifamily, there's always a need for living space, right? So if you pick the right markets and the right types of assets, you're going to have people showing up over and over again to be able to rent out your places. So you have more stable income and better opportunity for valuation increases as well, I think, comparative to the risk that you might take on in some asset classes. The thing that I like about being a limited partner in transactions is that if you're interested in real estate, you might want to actually do syndications yourself someday, or even just buy a couple of smaller properties someday. It's actually a great opportunity to see behind the scenes how transactions work. You get monthly or quarterly newsletters. You get information about what their strategy is. You get to hear from the lead syndicators and learn more from them. So any of my limited partners that are thinking to invest in real estate, I always encourage them to invest as a limited partner first to get more information from others and learn from others. And finally, I think to be able to have that passive income as a limited partner, that really gives you the experience of the real estate without having to deal with those phone calls and those difficult challenges that you might face by owning your own properties.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I've been an LP in a lot of deals, and it was great to get that syndicator's model of business. I mean, you're gonna see everything. Most of these operators are going to really open the curtain for their investors and say, here's the deal, here's the location, here's the type of debt, here's our business plan, here's how we're going to execute. And you can learn so much. And then every month you're going to, like Craig just said, you're going to get an update, or quarterly. Some people do quarterly, we do monthly. You're going to get an update on exactly how that investment is faring, what challenges you're having, what successes you're having, how you're doing compared to what they projected that they would do. When you're buying a deal, you're going to create a pro forma budget, which is a projected budget. And then after you own the deal, you're going to monitor to see how you're doing compared to what you said you would do. And as a general partner, every month you're on the line. Hey, how'd you do? You said you were going to do X. Did you do X? You said you were going to do Y. Did you do Y? So being a general partner, there's more pressure. Being an LP, you hope you picked a good horse. And maybe you can help a little bit too, Craig. How do you pick a great general partner team? And as an investor, let's say you've invested in 8 or 10 deals passively. What is it that you're saying, hey, yeah, this is the group I'm going to go with? Why is it them?
The team is a huge aspect of the success of that transaction. So it's important to find the right asset and the right location, but also the team matters significantly. So what I look for is someone with a good track record, right? That they've had at least, say, 3 to 5 deals under their belt that they have closed on and that they're managing, and to be able to see the success of managing those properties. I do also prefer to see transactions that have gone the full cycle, right? Have they actually did what they said they were going to do and get to the stage where they were able to sell it within the time frame that they had anticipated? That's more challenging to find because that sometimes can take 5 to 7 years, right? So to find a really smart syndicator doesn't necessarily mean they've gone the full cycle. But also, how have they gotten their education about real estate investing? Is it something that they built up themselves? Have they worked with other partners? And do they have a presence in the industry? Because I think a large part of our success in relying on each other's success in the real estate industry is that you're a known figure. So if you're well established in the real estate industry, say you have a podcast, you wrote a book, you're out on social media posting all the time or on conference stages, that is going to push you to be able to make sure that person is going to be as determined as possible to make these deals successful, right? Nobody wants to fall down when they're that much ingrained into the real estate industry, because it's a small industry at the end of the day, right? As to like what we're doing in this network.
That's good stuff, you guys. I hope you heard that and re-listen to this as needed. Kind of touching on your coaching academy, you're pretty passionate about helping individuals craft their own wealth and strategies in order to do that. Did you want to talk about this coaching academy? Are you putting this together, or is this available for folks?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm starting up a coaching academy on capital raising. So over the last year, I have raised $7 million on 5 transactions. So it's come to me that I've been able to develop some interesting strategies that I think can help individuals. So I'm opening up a academy to, first of all, do some one-on-one coaching with individuals. So if anyone's interested in that, getting tips on how to raise money for live deals. So we'll work together on a live transaction that's part of this coaching academy. Concept is that I'm not just going to teach you the ropes. I'm actually going to bring transactions to the table that we can raise money for together. And you can actually, it might be the first academy that you can actually make money while you're in the academy itself. So yeah, I'm launching this over the next couple of months. So really excited about it, and just helping others to learn how to raise capital and make money in the real estate business.
Gosh, good stuff. Okay, you guys. Well, thanks so much, Craig, for coming on our show. How can listeners get in touch with you and learn more about the opportunities you're providing here?
Sure, they can reach out to me by email at craig@groundbreakingre.com, or find me on LinkedIn. I'm always available on LinkedIn and to connect there.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this week's episode. If you gained value from this show, we ask that you share it with your friends and leave us a rating and review. Thanks again. We'll see you next week on another episode of Keeping It Real Estate.